Hey sunshine, it's Cady from DarkSunlight. If you're new here, I make videos about bullet journaling, witchy things, and lifestyle in Montreal. If that's something you're into, feel free to subscribe and click the bell to be notified every time I upload a new video. And follow me over on Instagram at dark_sunlight. I post more bullet journal content over there, as well as how my bullet journal looks when it's all filled in. In this video, I'll be setting up my bullet journal for May. I started with the title on the right side of the page. I knew I wanted to add the hello in there just because May is a tiny word and I wasn't sure I could make it look that interesting on its own. The first time I sketched it all out with the swoopy lines, it kind of accidentally made a heart shape, so then I worked with it in the sketching phase to emphasize the shape on purpose, and I think it turned out pretty cute. I wanted all the titles this month to look flowy and romantic because ultimately I want the whole theme this month to be inspired by light or romantic academia. If you haven't heard of this style or aesthetic before, it's the emotionally positive and visually lighter counterpart to dark academia. Both aesthetics focus on a love of literature, music, art, history, and knowledge-seeking in general. Romantic academia is similar to light academia, but with an added dash of romance and nature. So think like Little Women, Sense and Sensibility, Dead Poet Society, Enola Holmes, Secret Garden, etc. This cute little reading lady was inspired by Darling Desi here on YouTube. I highly recommend her channel for tons of light academia and cottagecore inspiration and aesthetic. I discovered her channel a few weeks ago and have been binge watching all of her videos. They are so beautiful and calming. So I wanted to include this little doodle inspired by her as my cover page to set the tone and the color scheme for the rest of the pages. The color scheme I chose for this setup is all pastel colors, but with a pop of that peachy orange color inspired by Desi's hair. To create this cover drawing, I laid down a base layer of colors using the Tombow markers I picked out for the scheme this month, and then I went over some places with colored pencils to smooth out the texture and add more depth to the shadows. When I was happy with the depth and texture of the drawing, I went over it with my white gel pen and some of my Archer and Olive acrylograph pens to add some extra pops of color and detailing. I haven't drawn an actual human in a while, but I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. I hope I did Desi justice. As a final touch, I colored in the leaf designs of the title and added a pastel blue drop shadow to the lettering. The next page is for my calendar. I started at the top by adding in another swoopy May title and then started to add in some of the other decorations. I wanted this page to look as if it was sheets of paper and flowers pinned and taped to the wall. So in the corner, I added a sprig of baby's breath tucked into the piece of tape holding up the calendar. Since May very inconveniently has 31 days, with the 31st being a Monday, I thought it would be cute to add it clipped to the bottom of the calendar as if it was an afterthought. On the right side, I added more sheets of paper for my social stats and my monthly goals. Once it was all inked in, I added some pops of color to the tape, pins, and flowers, as well as in the drop shadows. The next page is going to become my habit and mood trackers. I wanted this one to look like someone's study or library room with a bookshelf of beloved books and flowers and art pinned to the walls. I created the habit calendars as if they were art pieces on the wall and filled in the empty spots with more flowers and an ornate mirror. My flowers here are very loosely doodled and probably not highly accurate because they're so tiny, but I based the designs on carnations, baby's breath, and roses. Fun fact, baby's breath is darling Desi's favorite flower and honestly one of mine too. It's often used as a filler in bouquets, but I think it's pretty beautiful on its own as well. On the right side of the page, I drew in the bookshelf. I based it loosely on some Victorian bookshelf photos I had found, but I also took liberties with the design to simplify it. Next, I added some decor to the shelves and 31 books piled on and around the bookcase so that I'll be able to color in one book for each day of the month according to my mood that day. Underneath the bookshelf, I added in the color key for the moods and numbered all of the books. Finally, I added in all the colors to the drawings, trying to scatter each of the colors from the color scheme evenly across the page to make it appear balanced. For the glass on the mirror, I swooped my marker across quickly to create streaks while leaving some of the white paper to show through like a shine on the glass. I colored the bookcase using my light sand Tombow marker, and I leaned into the streaky effect of the marker and just made sure to color in the direction I thought the wood grain would be going. I had planned to use a darker color to fill in behind the books to create depth, but I doubted myself and used the light sand color again, but then it didn't have the effect I wanted, so I did go back over it with the darker color. The next page is to become my productivity level board. I switched up the layout this month to put the title on the bottom of the page so I could draw in some stacked books and decor. Other than that, the grid itself is the same as how I'd normally set it up, continuing the reduced plan section that I started in April. If you want any more information about this spread or how it can be used, I recently made a Bujo Bites video about it that I can link above. The tasks I am tracking this month remain basically the same, but you may notice an extra one added under the Dark Sunlight section. I didn't choose a symbol for it yet, but I did add in a Twitch task. I do plan to start a Twitch channel and stream some more bullet journal content over there, as well as maybe some tarot readings. I'm still in the planning phase, but I'm pretty stoked about the idea of having a more interactive way to connect with you lovely people. Once the Dutch door was added, I colored in the decorations at the bottom and added the drop shadow and leaf color to the title. As a last-minute addition to my April setup, I added this health tracker and made a whole video about creating the spread from scratch. If you missed it, I'll throw in a link above. I used to use these spreads over a year ago, but stopped during the pandemic because frankly it felt depressing to focus on health when the gyms were closed and I wasn't getting any steps from my couch. Not much has changed, but at least with spring on the way, I plan to get out and walk a bit more, and I've been trying to eat a bit healthier, minus some edible cookie dough now and then. Plus, this is one of the spreads I actually enjoy looking back on just to check in on how I was feeling in months past. I always keep this faves and memories page super simple to leave myself lots of space to write. So this month is just some more of those flowers taped into the middle of the page. I also kept my weekly design pretty simple this month, as I often don't have the energy each week to set up a fancy design. I designed this spread to look like more torn sheets of paper pinned to the wall with a little calendar in the corner. And this is how everything turned out. I hope you had as much fun as I did diving into these light and romantic academia themes. If you are inspired by any of these pages in your own setups, feel free to tag me on Instagram so I can check them out. I will of course have a digital version of this setup for you to download and print on my Patreon, as well as a blank version usable for any month of the year in my Etsy store. Both my Patreon and Etsy will be linked below. As always, thank you so much for watching. Until next time.